I'm Dennis C. Miller, Chairman and CEO of Dennis C. Miller LLC. A little bit of my background: I've been involved in the nonprofit sector for 40 years, the last 20 as a consultant coach in the nonprofit sector. My team and I, we support boards and leadership development. We support leadership development, make sure you're strategically aligned to achieve your vision, and we help people. We're not a fundraising firm, but we teach you how to increase donors and dollars. I'm an author of 7 books. I'm a frequent speaker, and I also facilitate numerous retreats. But I'm happy today. I have a good friend and a wonderful guest, and I want to introduce him to you now. His name is Brian. Brian, introduce yourself, please, and your organization. Go ahead, Brian.
Sure. Greetings. Well, thanks, Dennis. I appreciate it. My name is Brian Corbin, as you said. I'm the Executive Vice President for Member Services for Catholic Charities USA. Our national office is in Alexandria, Virginia. But I've been here 11 years, Dennis, in that role. For 27 years prior to that, I was the Chief Executive Officer and Secretary, and what we call diocesan director in church language, of Catholic Charities and Catholic Health Affairs for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Youngstown, Ohio, which is 6 counties in Northeast Ohio, centered right between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. You can't get to Cleveland or Pittsburgh from each other unless you go through Youngstown. So we're right in the middle of both big cities. So, and I enjoyed working there for a long time. I'm a native of Winslow, Maine. And the reason that's important is that much to my surprise and honor, when I was 16 years old, I was appointed by the Roman Catholic Bishop of Portland, Maine, to serve on the board of directors, not a youth board, the board of directors, when I was 16 years old, of Catholic Charities of Maine. And that 2-year experience between my sophomore year and my senior year, when I got to serve as the youth representative to a corporation of the church in Catholic Charities, serving the people of Maine, it changed my trajectory of what I wanted to study and how I wanted to study. And it really, I believe, was a clear call for me, the very beginning part of my professional life as a 16-year-old looking for college and my profession, my vocation. And that has that role in governance. So I started out in governance, not in volunteering, not in being a receptionist, as great as that is, but as a volunteer corporate governance. So
Brian, that's impressive, and interesting. So could you talk a little bit about the impact that had? That's a major thing. I'm not going to talk about how you got appointed, but talk about just for a minute or two about how that impacted you in a positive way, because you've done so well in your life and career. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I was kind of swirling at once, Dennis. So I was thinking, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I knew I wanted to work for the church. That I kind of knew. I had some ideas about what that might look like as a young man. But be that as it may, 2 things were happening at the same time. My family took us on a cross-country camping trip, and we stopped in North Dakota and visited some indigenous Native American nation states. Then I come back to Maine, and my first board meeting of Catholic Charities Maine, my first board meeting, is in the Abenaki Nation's headquarters in Maine. I didn't realize we had at least three, maybe 4 Native American nations in my home state. And the poverty that I saw, and the poverty, but also the ability of people to come together and do something. And that was that twist between the poverty, but the willingness of people to come together to work together. That shifted for me, that when I went to college, my goal was to say, I want to do something in economic justice for people. Okay. And so that led me to my studies and my graduate work, and ultimately saying yes to go to Youngstown, which was not in my plan book, but it happened. And I took that opportunity as a call from the Spirit for me. And then the same thing happened when I got called here to Washington.
That's very impressive. So, Brian, talk about, particularly maybe for those that don't know, talk about what Catholic Charities USA is.
Sure.
And talk about some of the things that you're most proud of achieving and some of the challenges you have been up against as well. Because
sure. Let me start at the beginning. So, Catholic Charities USA was founded in 1910 on the steps of the Catholic University of America,
Oh,
where
okay.
leaders from around the country came together, St. Vincent de Paul, religious women, specifically religious men, some diocesan people, and it's going to be important. And 115 years ago, so, and we're 2025 right now, so 150 years ago, um, a group of leaders met in September of 1910, and has three purposes, Dennis. The first purpose was to help the church build diocesan charitable institutions that will provide health and welfare to the people of a diocese, the way that the Roman Catholic Church is organized, number one. Number two, the second purpose was what we call to professionalize social work. There weren't many schools of social work in that time.
Right.
Catholic University of America started the first Catholic social work school in 1918, so 8 years after our founding. So, and we call professional social work these days sharing best practices. What works, what doesn't work. And the third was to be the attorney for the poor, to speak on behalf of those who have no voice, both in Washington and in state capitals and in city halls. So that's our threefold purpose. Now, right now, we are not a headquarters, we're not a franchise, we're not a federation. We're a network of 168 independent diocesan corporations. Many of those diocesan corporations have multiple corporations, so we're a gathering of over 750 separate Catholic Charities institutions.
Wow.
In 3,500 locations, serving all 50 states and the 5 U.S. territories, from American Samoa all the way to the U.S. Virgin Islands and the states in between. So that's the network that we have, and the power and the great gift is the power of a network. People share with each other. There's no one place where the locus of information is. It's in the network. And when people want information, us here in Alexandria, the national office, we're not the 100% experts. But we know where the experts are in the community. We know how to get them together. That's our great gift. The obstacle or the boundary to that is it takes more time sometimes. When you go to a Catholic Charities agency, not every Catholic Charities agency serves the same way. We have over 1,500 different programs throughout the country. And the way I like to mention it for a Catholic Charities institution, when you go to McDonald's, well, Dennis, I'm going to say it, you're a much better person than I am. When I go to McDonald's, I love McDonald's. I'm just going to give them a quote there because I love their French fries. Okay, so I know.
By the way, I do too. And I'm
Okay,
not,
well, there you go.
but once in a while, I stop and I gotta get the French fries. I like them.
All right, so you know what I'm saying. But here's the key. So if I'm in Youngstown or in Virginia or in Washington or in New Jersey or in California, when I stop at that McDonald's, I pretty much can guess that within a tolerance of 1%, it's going to taste the same.
Yes.
And that's a franchise power. That's the power of franchise. Catholic Charities is a different power of network. Some agencies may want French fries and serve French fries. Some agencies may do sweet potato fries. Some agencies may do roasted potatoes. Some agencies may do shredded potatoes. Why? Because of the principle in our organizational structure, Dennis, called subsidiarity. So in governance language, in the governance language of a network or of Catholic Charities, what's the call is that people most locally situated need to solve their problems best locally and call upon higher institutions for help. But once we've helped them, subsidium, rendered them help, once we've helped them, they're still independent and on their own. That's number one. Number two, Catholic Charities in Youngstown look very different than Catholic Charities in Cleveland, 60 miles away, and looked very different than Catholic Charities of Pittsburgh, 60 miles south. Why? Because we responded to the local needs of our communities. Do we have similar things? Yeah, we had similar things, but we didn't have the same thing. And that's because you look at your community, and in all honesty, I had 6 counties in Northeast Ohio as an example. I served those 6 counties differently.
Wow.
Because of the nature of local institutions. What does the Red Cross do? What is Salvation Army doing? What's the Lutherans doing? What are the United Way doing? all those questions are always at interplay. So I just hope that gives a little insight into the power of a network based on
Yeah.
subsidiarity.
Brian, how would you describe, and it's a challenging question, but how would you describe the positive impact that Catholic Charities has in their communities compared to other organizations? But let's talk about the impact. It does impact so many lives. How does it talk about some of the impact, the positive impact it's having? Obviously, poverty is one area. Are there other areas where it's trying to be the most impactful?
Sure. So I think partly, and so that's a good point. So Dennis, we're not known for one thing.
Right. I
Uh,
know that.
like Second Harvest Food Bank, you can tell you what it's for, feeding America, right? It's feeding. That's great. We're connected to them, but we don't have one Monica program. We
Right.
respond to local needs. So thank you for opening that up a little bit. I think so. Local impact. You'd have to really talk about local impact, but I
Sure.
think, the way to remember where Catholic Charities stands in is that we're not going away. Why? Because a bishop, the Vatican, the Roman Catholic Church, has organized the world into dioceses. And one way or another, a diocese will cover your territory. And the bishop is responsible for the corporal and spiritual needs of all the souls, not the Catholics, all the souls in his geography. So Catholic Charities is in every single zip code. There's a Catholic Charities designated to cover every single zip code. We're not
Yeah.
going away. We are
Right.
in the community, one way or the other, which is important. And we're there for the long term. We think in centuries, not necessarily in 5-year plans, right?
Right.
We've been around 2,000 years. So it's a different energy, a different way of thinking about time, which is fine, important. Um, the second part of that is I think we're called by in the gospel, for those who are Christian or those who understand the Christian theology, in the book of Matthew, Matthew 25, there's a very powerful story called the Last Judgment, where it is said the Son of Man, the Son of God, will divide the nations into two, the goats on one side and the sheep on the other, and will ask the question, where when I was hungry, thirsty, naked, a stranger, sick, in prison, you fed, you clothed, you sheltered me, you welcomed me, you healed me, you visited me, you welcomed me back. Those are the most vulnerable people that stories pointed to. Those are the people that are the most vulnerable in our communities. And if Catholic Charities gets to push and shove where and who it wants to serve, it'll be those people. When I was hungry,
Yeah.
when I was thirsty, when I was in prison, when I was a refugee, when I was a stranger, when I was sick, when I was in prison. So those are the key vulnerable peoples that I think Catholic Charities will always have an eye for.
And it's having a positive impact today with everybody. It's kind of sad in a way. This is sad that there's such a need today in this
Sure.
country and society that we need, and people need Catholic Charities USA so badly because there's still so much. I'm out in Southern California now compared to the East Coast, and I live in a nice community and everything. But when I travel up to the coastline, you get into Santa Monica, it's beautiful, but the homelessness is rampant. It's just so sad.
It
People
is.
living in a tarp. It's
Yep.
just
So
it's sad.
exactly, and that's why every community is going to respond a little differently. Like I said, we don't have McDonald's French fries. We have all kinds of things, and that's because of the locality. So, but I do know that I think Catholic Charities as a global network has one of the largest portfolios of affordable housing in the United States after the federal government, one of the largest portfolios.
Yeah.
We certainly have one of the largest portfolios for vulnerable seniors housing.
Right.
That is a specialty in many areas, and for persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Yeah.
A lot of those houses. Catholic Charities was on the forefront in the 1980s on HIV/AIDS, and we still have remnants of ministries around the country for HIV/AIDS. That world has changed radically because of medicine, right? So that's why I'm hedging it a little bit. But there's some history there. Of course, a lot of our agencies, I think close to 70 dioceses out of the 168 do something with refugee resettlement,
Wow.
which is and so we've been around in refugee resettlement since the 1890s. This is not
Wow.
news to us. Many Americans that are living here right now probably were touched by a Catholic Charities agency at one point with their great grandparents or their grandparents. And
Yeah.
it's continuing today. So that's one of the more powerful ministries that I think. And again, if you look at Matthew 25, when I was a stranger, you welcomed me. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked or without housing or homeless, you took care of me. So I think that's the major point of our ministries.
Yeah, I don't normally bring this up in the podcast, but you're touching upon something that's dear to my heart. Some people know about my life, and some people know I wrote an autobiography called Mopping Floors as CEO,
Mhm.
from hopelessness and failure to happiness and success. So, yes, the past, 40 years, I've been blessed with a wonderful career I was ran a Catholic medical center.
Mhm.
I ran another medical president and been a consultant and done well. But when I was a young boy, I didn't do very well emotionally. So deal with trauma and environment from family issues. And when I needed it the most, I turned to a local pastor and priest who came to visit me one day in a hospital, and I knocked on his rectory door, and it changed my life.
Hmm.
Changed my life to knock on that door. It took a lot of courage and thought, but I knocked on his door. I dedicated the book to Father Gantley, and he just was what was so amazing to me about Father Gantley, Don Gantley, was it wasn't about religion per se. He just was a very comforting, compassionate, caring person. Brian used to hold my hand. I went to see him a lot. I used to throw pebbles at the window or sit in front of the church if he was available. But he just held my hand and listened. And
Wow.
it always gave me peace and comfort that I could go back home, but I might have to come back the next day because of what I
Mhm.
was living with. But that to me was my experience with the Catholic Church. I went,
Mm.
grew up as a Catholic boy. My mother was Irish Catholic in Boston. Where else
Yep.
was I going to go? But
Sure.
I'm always reminded of and blessed with I had that experience here. Looking ahead for this decade and the next decade. What's your hope for Catholic Charities USA? What do you hope for your organization? What do you just hope for trying to help people out? It's all about helping people. And
Yeah.
so,
Sure.
what's your dreams and hopes for the next few years? What's your hope and dreams?
Sure. Well, let me. So, one of the methodologies that we use in Catholic Charities as a faith-based institution,
Right.
that we see the world around us, we make a judgment call about how it is in relationship to our vision and mission of the scriptures and what the prophets would say, and then we do action. So, see,
Right.
judge, and act. So it's a methodology. But be
Right.
that as it may, part of that methodology of seeing is we've been called by the church to always read the signs of the times. Read the signs of the times and interpret them in the light of the gospel. So
Right.
we did a massive process this past year of surveying and focus groups and dialogue sessions and synodal listening to say, what do you think are the major signs of the times right now? They
Yeah.
change. That's the point of signs of
Sure.
the times. They do change. But right now, if we had to say for the next 5 years, what are the big signs of the times? And here are the ones that our community of 45,000 staff people and 300,000 volunteers talk to us about. Obviously, what you can see around us all the time is issues around mental health. So we see an increased mental health awareness, but also people needing and helping and calling for support. So mental health is a sign of the times. Second sign of the times, and this is in no particular order, by the way, is immigration. That we certainly see a lot of issues around immigration, one way or the other. This is in the world. This is the highest point of time where most people are mobile and moving or have to move, have been displaced. So there's something going on that we need to be attentive to. The third area that we saw was natural disasters. And how does
Mm.
that impact people? How does that impact neighborhoods? How does that impact communities? Another sign of the time is this increasing still housing insecurity. People are still paying a lot of their income for housing. So how do we deal with that? And food insecurity. So people are still that there's still people not getting enough nutrition and caloric intakes. Even today, a lot of kids are in that, and seniors are in that position. Then we saw three other things that were kind of related. One was an increasing polarization in our society and contentious politics. And the other
Mhm.
one was disillusionment with institutions and lack of trust. And the final one that we saw was that there are people in the social service sector, in the nonprofit sector, that we're having a hard time retaining people, recruiting people, and helping people promote and get paid well. And so
Yeah.
we're seeing that as a sign of the time. So we're trying. So, Dennis, my hope is that we're trying to think through in Catholic Charities how to be responsive to those 7 or 8 major signs of the times right now and what we can do about it. So that's what we're looking
Well, Brian, you have done a great many wonderful things for people throughout the world, throughout this country. And obviously, what you just stated here, well, it's unfortunate we have a lot of work ahead of us, all
at.
of us. And I thank you and the leadership of Catholic Charities for what you're doing here. How
Well,
can
thank
people who want to, and I've been very impressed, Brian, with what you've had to say here. How can people reach out to you? How can they support Catholic Charities USA? How can they get a hold of you? Talk about that a little bit if you don't mind.
Sure, a couple ways. One is, well, our website is catholiccharitiesusa.org,
Okay,
catholiccharitiesusa.org. You should pop to the top when you type it in. Just join that, and you can look up. We have a whole search function. You type in your zip code, and you'll find the most local agency for you, or
right,
wherever. Actually, I should say it this way: wherever your computer or your phone is,
right,
it'll tack that first. It'll
right.
track that first. So that's one way. Another is I'm on Twitter at Brian R. Corbin, so X, formerly known as Twitter. I'm happy to have people just follow along. I try to keep relevant, and also Brian R. Corbin on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to connect with people at all times. I'm just always anxious and always love learning new things from the whole the whole polyphony of life. So that'd be great.
Well, Brian, again, I thank you. You've been a great guest on the podcast, Visionary Leaders. You clearly are a visionary leader. And I thank you very much for you and all your members. And I look forward to having a chance for people to hear about yourself and Catholic Church. So thank you very much.
Wow, thank you, Dennis.
Just as
Appreciate
I
it.
wrap this up here, again, I'm Dennis Miller. Our website is Dennis C. Miller, C as in Charles. I found if I don't put C in, I get Dennis Miller, the comedian, and everything else like that. And I tell people I am funny, but it doesn't always help. Take a look at what we do. My team and I, like Brian, but we're devoted to helping nonprofit organizations succeed, reach its potential. And feel free to reach out to me at any time, Dennis at DennisCMiller.com for a free virtual consultation. Brian, again, thank you all very much. It's
Thank
been
you.
great to have you here, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.